Episode 2 of the role playing podcast, guys. I can't believe I timed that song to end right when that counter went to 0. I actually did not.
Incredible timing.
I didn't plan it. It happened like that.
Sure,
Um,
sure, sure.
it did. I'm not that clever as much as I'd like to think I am. Good evening. I am Dave. Awesome Dave 1337 because the lead speak will never die. With James, also known as Nomad, spelled in an interesting way.
Yep, very crazy way. Also in the very early 2000s way of having your usernames. I figured I'd keep it. It's unique now.
It is. Nothing wrong with that. And surprisingly, Awesome Dave 1337 has been available on like everything when I decide to start using that for a handle or dat tag, screen name, whatever the hell you want to call it nowadays.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, almost every instance of Nomad has been taken, so I've had to go through some extremes of changing it around a little bit here and there. But yeah, well, maybe when we get a little bit bigger, I'll start pushing to get that name back.
Yeah, good luck with that. But yeah, so now we're here to discuss probably the first of many black sheep of the Final Fantasy series. At one point, do you consider the black sheep its own flock? But yeah, Final Fantasy 2. I'll probably just jump right in just to discuss it. We're going to follow the same format that we followed last episode in terms of kind of a rubric. I'm actually going to pull that up right now. But most important thing is we do have to discuss, because this is a role-playing focused podcast, yet again this week have the Elixir of the Gods, Monster Zero Ultra.
See, I'm currently out, so I just have plain Jane old water here. My giant jug.
See, before that, I just finished Stella Artois. So I go from beer to energy drink because that's what someone who's 40 should be doing on a Wednesday evening.
Probably not, but hey, you do what you got to do.
Yeah. At least I'll die happy. So yeah. So I guess we'll start off with just the experience for the game. I'll go first. Very low experience. This was actually my second playthrough of the game. My first playthrough was 2 or 3 years ago on the PS5 when the Pixel Remasters came over to that console. I had owned it previously in some of the remakes that came out in the early aughts, but never actually got around to playing it. So second time playing it. James, did you have any history with the game before this playthrough?
No, this is one of those games where I have no history of playing it, so I try to keep, as much of my playthrough without looking at anything as possible. Did towards the end look up a few things, just simply trying to figure out what certain things were, and so that definitely kind of broke my rule a little bit, but it wasn't anything too crazy. But we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, no, that's totally understandable. This game is rather different in terms of the first entry in the series. I guess that should lead into our first topic, and that being story. This game actually has one. Opposed to the exposition vomit that you get at the end of Final Fantasy 1, this game actually does start with a story, a cast of specific characters. It is a bit of a cliche trope they do go with, but it is a theme you'll see throughout the series as a whole, as well as through other RPGs and JRPGs, and that is the theme of Rebels versus Empire.
I wonder where I've seen that theme played in multiple popular, media and pop culture.
Yeah, probably the most well known of that would probably be. Oh, I don't know. Something with
It's like a like
laser
yeah,
swords
it's
and
like a war amongst the planets or something, or maybe some stars or something. Yeah,
yeah, something with the galaxies and robots and whatnot.
Metachlorians.
We don't talk about those. Um, no, so obviously there'll probably be a few references to Star Wars um, in this episode, as well as some other pop culture items. I know some of my friends are mad at me because I have never watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, but from what I can ascertain is that there seems to be some kind of ragtag group of children going against some kind of empire. James had this kind of look on his eyes for any audio listeners. I'm assuming James has
It
watched
is.
this show.
I watched it multiple times through. It's obviously a great show. To boil it down very simply, is a bunch of ragtag teens are looking to take down big bad empire, trying to take over the world, essentially.
And then the real treasure was the friends they made along the way.
For this one, it helps.
But yeah, so no story. I don't want to go too much into story, because there's, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, everyone. But there will be some spoilers. Obviously, we're talking about the story. We're also talking about the story of a game that's like 38 years old now. So I'm sorry. But essentially, there's a bad empire. You're a bunch of kids who get your ass kicked at the beginning of the game. You're a group of 4. You get whittled down to a group of 3. And then you join the Rebel Alliance because you essentially want vengeance for your hometown. Like all good stories, it starts with the quest for murder. You want to go kill the people that killed your town and family. So you go on your way. You make some friends. You make some enemies. Um, Again,
Yeah,
very cliche, unfortunately, but at the
it,
same
it
time,
it was,
it's old. So
and it was crazy that and again, spoilers here. That it's crazy that there's just so many characters just dying left and right that you're like running into and or interacting with, and it's just like you speak to them a few times, and then look, now they're dead. Oh, okay, that's okay, goodbye. And then you come back. Oh, look, another character. Oh, another one. It's like, oh my god, please. Does anybody know first aid here?
yes, because the Kira spell doesn't work if you get hit by a giant boulder, apparently. But
But I have life. I can bring them back. Like the Evanescence song, bring them back to life.
yes, but this will probably be a long talking point for a certain game in the series in which there was a pivotal character death, where the internet is divided between why didn't Cloud revive Aerith if he could have
He didn't
used the
have any
Phoenix
Phoenix
Down.
Downs. You didn't have any in his pocket.
But again, I will fight tooth and nail to this. Phoenix Down doesn't revive a dead party member; it revives a downed or KO'd party member.
Semantics.
Aerith was stabbed through the goddamn gut.
So you're saying like 90% of the time when I'm at 0 in these games, getting like bitten by a dragon or stone frozen and then smacked around, or a meteor crashes on me, that my character should just be permanently dead.
Probably should be. But again,
It should be, but then I get to use life. Come back.
The joys of video games. But yeah, so the story does, kill off some characters, but it leads to new characters being introduced. There are some important characters that get their first, or at least important names. that get there first.
I will say one of the probably smartest things I did in this story was saving as often as possible
Yeah.
because I didn't know your fourth slot would be rotating as much as it does. So I would get a new character, be like, well, I go back. I want that gear off that character.
Yep. Yeah. So no, but the important thing is it gave us the series first Sid. And at the end of the day, he's the most important character in every Final Fantasy. In which he
Very, very Sid-like in my experience.
Yeah. Everyone needs a Sid. Even though the best Sid was Final Fantasy VIII, but again, we'll talk about that later.
See, I'm very partial to sevens.
Yeah. Goddamn T. But so yeah, no, characters die, new characters join. It really was the first, probably one of the earliest instances of character death in video games. In terms of story progression. The deaths were essential for the story to progress. There is also the trope of the good guy becoming the bad guy and then repenting and becoming the good guy again. The character who eventually fills your fourth character slot, like 80% of the way through the game, probably. Leon. The Dark Knight becomes a hero. Wonder where that is seen again in the franchise. Essentially, you're going to see a lot of themes in Final Fantasy 2 and 3 that are used much more effectively in later entries. This definitely was Square, again, testing what they could do, what they could write, what they could get away with, and where their creativity could kind of branch off into.
I'll say this game as a whole kind of felt like that, where this was just a massive experiment on a lot of things. Story, gameplay, just to see kind of what stuck, what was good, what they could get away with, what didn't really work that they can change in the future. So it was a weird experience as an RPG from the ones I've experienced. And I definitely have a lot to say when we get towards the gameplay side of things.
This episode is going to be very heavy on gameplay conversation for this entry in the series. There is one important, again, sort of story beat. It's a character that's introduced or a species that's introduced that plays a role in many later games that have important characters. It's also the first game to give us a version of the Chocobo theme, as I'm playing right now.
Yes, I was excited to see the Chocobo, and I was running around with it before I got to use it where I needed to, and then I ended up losing it because I stopped somewhere and I ran back to go get another one to keep riding it around.
Yes, it's on the you played on Steam, so the Steam achievements, the PlayStation trophies, and I'm assuming the Xbox achievements. There is an achievement for finding all of the Chocobo forests in the game.
See, I didn't know there was more than one.
There is more than one. There's a lot, actually.
I only found the one.
Only one or two of them are very obvious, because there's an obvious clearing in the trees. But again, I don't want to go too much into the story because the story is very plain. There's an emperor, you kill the emperor. Oh my goodness, the emperor's not dead. He's back from hell and he's stronger. Strike me down, I'll come back. More powerful than you could ever imagine. Well, I guess he did. So you have to kill him again. And then the characters live a happy, peaceful life afterwards. The game had a happy ending for the characters that didn't die.
I would say this is another one of those games where having played Magic the Gathering and with the Final Fantasy set kind of gave away that the the bad guy was going to come back or have a second phase. So, it was still fun. I will say the final boss was a little surprising to me, like getting there and the whole setup for it. It felt like at one point you just hit this like acceleration of everything. Like it's here, you start here, and then there's no going back. From here, it is just straight to the end of the game, and that's it. So there was no like going around just doing whatever. It was just now you're on a one-way trip. You're just getting shot right to the end, and that's it.
Yep. It almost seems like they wanted to get the game out. Get it out on the store shelves, finish production, which unfortunately is just common in the industry. Don't know how often it actually happened in the late 80s, early 90s, but they also couldn't, release a day one patch on a game back then. So, but no, overall, decent story, vast improvement from the story of the first game, mostly because there is a story. So obviously we are rating things because that's what a good podcast host will do. So I'll start by giving a numeric 1 out of 10 score for the story of Final Fantasy II. I'll probably have to give it, looking as the series as a whole, again, this is now only the second game of the series, I would give it like an 8. There's a story. Is it basic? Yes. It's also on an NES 8-bit cartridge originally. So, story, I would say 8. There are some characters. You kind of learn each character's personalities. You understand their connections throughout the game a little bit. You learn characters who die, their family, why they died. The deaths don't seem kind of meaningless, at least. The deaths do play a role in the story. So I'd give it an 8. How about you, James?
I'm pretty close to that. I gave it a 7.5. Story definitely better, a little bit more substance than the first one. Again, like you said, at least the deaths in the series kind of had their points where they were necessary to keep things moving forward, give a little bit more of a dramatic sense to the what's going on, a little more depth of what's going on. So all in all, I would say it's definitely a 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Okay. So we're pretty much on the same page. Now, I figure we should just get to the elephant in the room. Let's talk about gameplay.
Oh boy.
This game introduced 2 very large gameplay changes from the first game. I'll start first off with the dialogue system or the password system that was used in the game. You have to learn phrases, learn about items, and then speak them to certain people to progress the story. It's a nice idea. But
I think that kind of a system works better in those, like those point-click adventures where you're, going around and you're trying to solve a mystery and you have these just random clues. I think that what they had there works more efficiently in those scenarios than it would in an RPG, especially with the amount of characters you have just walking around, because almost any one of them can, seemingly just react to anything you're trying to find out, talk about. So it gets a little crazy trying to run around and manage who do I need to talk to, who do I need to ask about this, and it was definitely not my favorite part of the game, one of the new aspects of the gameplay. So for me, it kind of negatively impacted the game rather than giving it any kind of positive spin on a new idea coming in.
Yeah, and the issue with that also is if you didn't talk to the right people in the right order, you could just end up not knowing where the hell to go. There is also, if you're a completionist, you can actually complete the game without collecting or learning all of the phrases. So you could be locked out of a platinum trophy or 1,000 gamer score or whatever on the game just because you didn't talk to everyone and choose to learn or ask or what have you. But no, I agree. This type of dialogue system lends itself better to a game like the original Fallout, so even the newer Fallout games, Disco Elysium, things like that, where conversation is an actual game mechanic, whereas just a little just flavor text in a game like this at this point in this series. But
Right.
kudos for trying something new. They looked at their first game, wanted to give a little more depth to the conversations and the characters. It was a clever idea. Was it executed well? I would say no. There's probably a reason why they never revisited a system like this ever in the Final Fantasy series. But that's a minor system compared to the reason why people tend to hate the game. And that is the combat system, or at least the character growth system. So James, since this was your first foray into the game, what are your takes on it?
Oh boy, I have a long list of takes on this. So the one thing I didn't really mind too much at the start was like leveling up your spells and everything because it made sense. You gotta keep using them to effectively make them stronger. However, uh, leveling them up became so much of a pain, and then obviously with like leveling up uh, weapon skills and shield and all of that, like the game doesn't really tell you how to effectively level it all up properly. It's just go out, figure it out, here, have some fun. And meanwhile, I think I probably spent about half an hour leveling protect and shield on probably the weakest mobs possible, just defending, sh- protect all, shield all, and just using the auto battler just to run it out until either I hit a certain point where I was like, I think this leveled again, or the monster fleed. So it got to a point where it was a little more obnoxious than it was like, oh, this is a fresh new take. I kind of like this.
Yeah, it definitely was different. Logically speaking, it makes sense. The more you use something, the better you are at it. Practice makes perfect, as the old adage goes. Um, One thing it reminds me of is when I'm playing it, my mind goes back to one of the greatest games ever made. And that's Skyrim. The weapon system reminds me of Skyrim. The more you use a one-handed sword, your one-handed skill gets better. Shields gets better. It's a great in concept, but to James's point, there was no explanation. You're just kind of thrown into the world and be like, you can equip anything you want. You can use whatever you want. But
And I
figure it out.
think, and it also, like most games in its time, doesn't really handhold you a lot. So there's points where I'm trying to run around, level spells and stuff, and I'm running into suddenly mobs that are just way stronger than me, and in an area I'm like, well, this just should still be like in the starter area, and my whole party gets wiped. So it the gameplay overall, it didn't. I would say at least that part, the leveling of like skills and abilities was okay at the start for me, but then when you're towards the end of the game and they're like, oh hey, here's flare, oh hey, here's ultima, it's like, okay, well now do I just go sit and grind mindlessly for an hour or two just to level this up to a point where I think it's usable in a battle, or do I just, you know, say screw it and just do with what it currently is and level it as I go? Like, all in all, it was tough to get through to try and manage all of it. I think once I got my characters into the spots I wanted them and just kept writing it out from there, things were fine. Did have to change my strategy a little bit towards the end. I primarily ran with I think Maria is like my magic damage dealer, and then at a certain point when I had protect, shell, berserk, aura, she basically became my buff everybody up, and then once all the buffs are up, if nobody's currently dying, start blasting while everybody's just smacking away. So it's, I don't know. I think it's a good idea for a different kind of RPG than this one.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with that. It's it's not intuitive unless you go into it knowing it's different than the previous game's mechanic. Um, there's also a stat they don't explain to you that's new in this game, and that's magic interference. The higher your magic interference, the weaker your spells are.
See,
Armor increases your magic interference.
that's one thing I actively had to look up because I had no clue what it was. Didn't say anything, and I remember asking you about it, like what does this do? And I think after that I Googled it and I was like, okay, this would have been nice to have maybe some small tutorial on somewhere. Hey, if you want your spells to do better, make sure this is lower. It's like
Yep.
golf rules, but nowhere.
Yep. And then, did you have any of your characters dual wield weapons?
Only towards the end with Leon that he actually dual wield weapon. So funny enough, in this one, I was running around talking to people, get towards the end of the game, run into Paul, ask him about a few things, and then it was one of those dialogues where he's like, "Oh, go check over here." I'm like, "What?" So I remember finding this sword and I'm like, okay, damage looks horrible. I don't understand why this would just be hidden away. So before my final boss push, I remember looking it up, like, what is this? What does this sword do? Like, what is, like, why is it hidden away somewhere? And apparently it's broken. So I ended up putting it on him, and that's how I got through the final boss.
Yep. Yeah, no, there's a lot that the game expects you to trial and error with the battle and the combat. Like, even magic points and health and whatnot, there's no traditional level up system. It really is based on use of the attributes, use of the skills, use of the items to determine. Essentially, the more often your character got the shit beat out of them, the more hit points they'll have. The more magic they cast, the more magic points they'll have. Um, yeah, it's, again, in theory, it logically makes sense.
Yeah,
In a game like this, no.
I think I ended with like level 8, like fire, thunder, and blizzard, and like level 12 cure. Like
Yeah.
it's just, it got a little obnoxious just how often I was using all that stuff and how much I grinded it. I think Maria had like capped out magic points at like 999.
Yep. That sounds about right. My Maria
Yeah,
was my kind of healer, buffer.
I would say if I did it again, I probably would put like Berserk and Aura on somebody different, like maybe one of the melee guys, just give them a turn off to buff everybody else up. But whatever.
I did that too. I actually had Guy, or Guy, depending on how you want to pronounce it. He had my He had Warp, Berserk, Stun. He had all those. He was almost like my almost like a time mage. But I also had him dual wielding a sword and an axe, so he was a beefy boy.
I think I ended up getting Excalibur, so I was like, oh, you can have that. So I had the Excalibur shield, and then one guy had a spear shield. I can't remember his name. The third character you get that constantly in your party. And then when I got Leon, I was like, well, you already have axe the same as what I have. Here's this sword because it's broken. It's time to go kill the final boss.
Yeah, so no gameplay mechanics, you know, they're all right. Could they be better? 1,000% yes. Could they have been worse? Yeah, they could have been too. Like,
I think if it had more explanation
yeah.
of how things leveled, it would be a little bit easier. Better to understand if there was some explanation on the stats, what the stats do, why they're important to certain characters, would be better. But it's not really there. It's left for you to figure out. And when you're just running around smacking things constantly, it's hard to gauge how and what's going on. Like you don't really get a sense of, oh, this is actually leveling something. Like I think at one point my guy's like sword experience was like 7 for a good chunk of the game. I'm like, why is this not leveling? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm smacking people. What's going on? Like, why is this not leveling? And then all of a sudden, just started boosting up again. I'm like, didn't make sense why. I guess certain mobs at a like certain level or would give you those experience. Yeah, I still don't know. It just
There were hidden values of attribute points to mobs.
Yeah, it
which isn't explained.
is
Yeah,
a frustrating point of the game. If there was just a little bit more of like maybe just a random wizard somewhere, one of the little mages somewhere in the town is just like, oh, well, let me tell you about this really quickly.
yeah, yeah. Or even just almost like every Pokemon game, there's always someone who's like, "You don't know how to catch a Pokemon? Well, watch this."
Here, youngster, let me show you.
Right. Where no matter how many Pokemon games you've played, you have to watch some old man usually, or some. I guess in the newer one, like in the most recent one, it's a teenage girl because you're in a school, show you how to catch a Pokemon. But it's like, bitch, I've been doing this for 30 years.
You want to see what level 99 Gengar?
Yeah, right. Hey, meanwhile, my other playthrough has Satan on my team. Giratina, go!
Oh, God.
But yeah, so, James, I'll let you rank first. What would you rate the gameplay mechanics of Final Fantasy II?
See, if we had gotten... It's hard because, Paul, I do like the idea of the skill leveling and the magic leveling. I think it's another one of those things where it's just like it negatively impacts this game a lot more than it actually provides any sort of positive to it. It's new, yeah, but it's very unintuitive. Like it is figure it out. All it really is. So for me, while I do still value it being a new thing and I do still like the idea of it, ultimately I think I will have to give it a 4.5 total, and that's including with the password whole system. Actually, now that I'm mentioning that, I'm just gonna give it a flat 4.
You know what? I don't know how often this is going to happen, but I too am giving it a 4. It was just not executed well.
No, I honestly wish that there was just more to it, and it honestly just hurt the games, more than it actually did anything positive for it.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. And this is probably why we didn't get this game in the West, until over a decade after it was originally released, because it just was so different. Also, the Japanese developers do think Americans are idiots, at least back then. So
Probably still do.
we probably could be proving them right. Maybe people in Japan thought this was the greatest thing in the world and intuitive for them, but us dumb Americans, with our pickup trucks and our Coors Light, yeah,
Country music.
yeah. Okay, now next is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about in a Final Fantasy game, and that's of course music. In every Final Fantasy game does start with the lovely prelude. One thing I want to show off, though, is I'd mentioned this in the previous episode about the Pixel remasters, is that we do get the option of playing in the orchestral or the arranged versions, or we could listen to it in the MIDI version, back on the 8-bit cartridge. So mind you, this was, this sounded great back in the day. But you can definitely tell it sounds better actually arranged with an actual instrument. But yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah, in my personal opinion, I think this category is going to be a hard one for this series to produce something that is bad. Like Final Fantasy as a whole, I would say one of the things that makes the game so good, as we had mentioned before, is the music. The music is always great in Final Fantasy games. I don't think I've ever come across one yet, at least in my playthroughs of some of the, we call them the Gen 2 ones. The music is phenomenal. So for me, I would say so far, the music of the series has been pretty good. I would say there's a few songs in this one in particular I did not really care for too much, but all in all,
what songs?
The one where in the Mage Town, Mysidia.
Yep.
That was like, nope, get me out of here. I don't like this at all. Please no.
Okay.
But Pandemonium, I think, was probably my favorite. The whole theme while you're doing the last push towards the final boss. That I was like, okay, this is great.
Yep. So this game definitely has some. There's a cat behind me. This game definitely has some a little more thematic to the music. Like right now, I'm playing Tower of the Magi, and that listening to that, you can hear it sounds ethereal. It sounds magical. But then we go to okay, Colby. This is the Imperial Army theme. It sounds like a march.
I think those. That's probably another one of my themes I liked while playing it. So it was rare for me to find a tune I didn't like, but if I didn't like it, it was pretty much immediate. Like as soon as, like I said, got into that town, I was like, oh, nope, get me out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. This soundtrack is not good for my ears.
And this right now is probably my favorite track from the game. In Final Fantasy 1, my favorite track was Matoya's Cave. This is the Rebel Army. This is pretty much your main character's theme during the game. This is what plays essentially when you're talking to Princess Hilda, any of the royalty that's on the Rebel side. But you've got the little bit of the lighter theme, lighter sound to the music, where this sounds like it's heroic, versus the Imperial Army theme sounds foreboding. Okay.
Yeah.
Then this is the Pandemonium. and this sounds very climactic.
Yeah, it enhances
Yep.
the moment and the experience, and that's one of the best things about Final Fantasy. We're probably going to be saying this every time we review it and get to this section, is just the music is an additional art piece attached to the game. It is not something just thrown in there after. It is there to enhance what you're experiencing, and story elements, the game feel. It is an additional piece to help bring everything to life.
I don't know if you heard, but there's vocals in this too.
I thought I did,
So
but
we're
then
talking,
again,
this is the game how old and Nobuo Uematsu worked putting vocals in. I'm gonna play the original version. We're even hearing it in the MIDI format. It still sounds good.
yeah, he's made a lot of great music for the franchise.
He's an auteur. Like, there's no question about it. He is amazing. Because at the same time, we get this. We're gonna get how many variations of the battle theme
Right.
between all the games. And that's what the great thing about Nobuo Uematsu is he'll take his previous works and improve upon them in the franchise. Because even this,
Yeah, battle themes are always one of my favorites. To listen to, because while they do some of them do kind of, I don't want to say stay the same, but they follow like the same structure and flow. There's always at least like a tonal difference or something changes about it that makes it different than the previous ones.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I will definitely say, again, the music of this category is probably, for the series, is gonna be one that's hard to score, low. I mean, there's probably going to be some games where we come across where the music is not as great as others, so maybe just getting a lower score than others. But I don't think, in my opinion, this will be something that will ever tank the rating of the game. Probably help keep it a little bit higher overall when you add all of our ratings together.
Totally. Because even this time, right now, this is the Emperor's Rebirth. When the Emperor's back from hell even stronger. You get that feeling. Like, shit just went down.
Mm-hmm.
It evokes that emotion, that it's almost like a feeling of dread. And it works perfectly. And then the last song I want to highlight is a story element that I found interesting in this game that I wanted to save for when we got to the music. Is when the princess, or the Lamia, or however you want to pronounce it, was disguised as the princess and tried to seduce Therion.
Yeah, that was. I'm not gonna lie, that was a weird scene. I was like, I don't know what's going on right now. I've seen too many anime, read too many books where this is bad. This is not good.
Yeah. But just listen to the music, where it's a slow. It's in a minor key. It's slow. It sounds sad. It's sad. It's in a minor key, so it's like, okay, this princess is trying to bed the hero, but why is it sad sounding? And then boom, snake monster.
Yeah, I was like, oh boy, oh no.
Yep,
This can't be good. It's Admiral Akbar just yelling in my ear, "It's a trap!
it's a trap!" But that's some adult material there.
I was like, ain't no way this is happening right now.
The best is when the rest of the party essentially chastises Furion for being a horny bastard.
Hey! what can you say? You can't always say no.
Oh boy. Okay.
Out of context, it's probably going to sound really bad, but let's just keep moving forward and skip over that.
Remember who edits this. Oh boy.
Oh boy, I'm canceled next.
Yep. Okay. So
I'll make my apology video after Asmongold.
For submissions for my new co-host, please send links to awesomedave1337.streaming@gmail.com. Preferably don't talk about sex in your rehearsal or your audition.
Whoa! I did not bring this up.
So James, where would you rank or rate the music in the game?
For me, I think I'm gonna give this a solid 7 overall.
I would give it an 8. It was good.
Yeah. I'd say there's just out of the couple pieces I wasn't really that big of a fan of. I mean, I can't honestly bring myself to put it less than a 7. I think even at a 7, it seems a little criminal, but it's what I can currently give it right now.
See, the problem we have is I'm trying to not have this mindset. Doing this since we're playing these games in order. You and I both know what's coming next or later in terms of the music.
I'm that's why I'm trying to just judge it solely on what I'm currently listening to in the game instead of what I've heard from the franchise already.
Right.
I mean, I know I referenced it, that the music of the whole series so far has been pretty good. So, but I'm trying to kind of throw that out of my brain while trying to come up with this rating here, just to try and remain as unbiased, impartial in my decision of this ranking.
Yes, and which is something that it's going to be hard to do. The way I'm looking
probably,
at...
like I say, probably especially when we get to the later versions, it might be a little bit hard too.
Yeah. The reason why I kind of gave this a slightly lower score was because a lot of it is a little bit more of the same from the first game, which, again, given how quickly this game released after the first one, I don't fault anyone for trying to either reuse assets, build up on some of the previous music mechanics, because this game came out pretty damn quickly after the first one in Japan. It was something like a year and a half, I think, most, between the releases.
Oh, so they got that Madden work schedule.
They went hard. So with all that being said, where do you rank the series now as a whole? We're 2 games deep. Where would you rank the series?
So, for me, this game, I think my overall ranking, I'm gonna have to give this a flat 6. Like, I think it is strongly supported by the music, keeping the game alive, the better story than we got in the compared to the first one, but the gameplay just heavily hurts the ranking on this game from being a solid entry. I can't overlook just how obnoxious some of the components of the gameplay was.
I too would actually agree that it's brought it down to a 6 for me as well.
I think it's our first one where we agree.
Yeah, the new stuff they try to put into the game took too much away from the original. I think they're trying to be too innovative. They had a good formula with the first game. They had a few too many variables with this one, and it got a little wonky.
Right. So let me ask you a question here.
Yes.
What would you change about this game to improve that score?
I would probably trim down some of the skill progression. Like magic. Why does each spell need to be its own level? I feel like they could have done white magic, black magic, and just maybe taken longer to level them up as a whole. Um, I do think there should have been an actual level system for hit points and magic points, instead of just the kind of arbitrary increases throughout the game. Um, those are probably the two biggest things I would change. Um, I kind of like the way the weapons leveled up, because when you think about it, every weapon is gonna have every type of weapon is gonna have a different type of skill set with it. You're gonna use an axe if you're gonna use a sword versus how you use a spear versus how you use a bow and arrow. So those, yes, I can see being their own individual experience bars, if you will. Does Cure and Asuna have to be two separate skills? Or two separate levels? I don't think so. That could have been kind of consolidated. They could have also explained magic interference. Um, so those are the things. The password system, I would say keep. I actually would love to see that expanded on more in a game for Final Fantasy. I would love to see a Final Fantasy with almost like Mass Effect or Fallout dialogue.
Yeah, I would say if you keep the password system, if you go into future games, kind of make it a little bit more Fallout style, where you aren't essentially having to fully remember what you need to talk about to each person. The game kind of gives you a little rough idea of what you kind of need to talk about to keep things moving forward for you. I will say one thing I didn't mention in the gameplay that I thought was very obnoxious is when you are trying to hit everything with the same spell. Oh, this spell was doing like 400 damage. 6 enemies. Why is it doing 60 to everything?
Mm-hmm.
This is that before I spiral. That was another one of the things that I did not like at all.
And James, can you also call out the fact that how long did it take you to realize you can target multiple enemies with a spell?
I was probably 65% of the way through the game.
Yep.
That was when I figured out how to do it for multiple enemies as well as for my own team.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this is great. Thank you. I had to figure this out for myself. Wonderful.
And James, what spells did you use to damage undead enemies?
So I didn't have holy, so I was just burning them with fire.
Cure.
See, that my brain was like, it could work because I've seen it work in other Final Fantasies, but it's like, this is my highest level spell I have right now. I'm just gonna hit it with fire.
Yep. Cure is this game's version of the DS spell from Final Fantasy 1. There is, or harm as it was called in the initial release.
I know in certain ones you can like throw potions at enemies to hurt them as well, or
throw a
something
phoenix
like that.
down at a certain ghost train to not have to suplex it. Yeah.
But suplexing the train.
So yeah, so I do want to get to our one question of the week. I remember where I kept it here. And we kind of already answered this. From Savoy Prime. My dear friend. What do you think FF2 went wrong? The first had laid a great foundation. The sequel apparently forgot. The game is cheeks. Have a great show. So for anyone who is not familiar with Savoy Prime, he prefers to refer to things as being bad as cheeks. I have told him many times cheeks can be good things.
Well, yes and no.
We've already kind of addressed that question as to where the game went wrong. Savoy, I agree. The game is kind of cheeks when you look at it compared to the first game. And, again, James hasn't been here yet. Number 3 is a lot better.
Yeah, what kind of experience am I looking at here going into the next one?
Job system.
See, that just inspires fear into me instead of joy.
Comprehensive job system. The introduction of the summoner class. There's a lot of good coming in Final Fantasy 3. A lot of things that pop up in Final Fantasy 3 that become staples in the franchise as a whole, actually.
Give me my boy Bahamut.
He was in Final Fantasy 1. Your boy Bahamut has been there since the beginning.
Oh, I know. I remember seeing him. I was like, oh, and then we didn't actually have him on the team. I was a
Leonardo
little upset.
DiCaprio meme. But yeah, no. So, which, I think this is a good example of how this series ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
1 was good. 2 was cheeks. 3 is better than 2, in my opinion. James will have to see if we agree with that.
And I think it's tough because they tried stuff to see if it would work. Clearly, it did not. Though I do applaud them for trying something new. And I can kind of see where some of the elements of like the level system you can see a little bit in later games, like specifically 7 when you're leveling materia and stuff.
Mhm.
So I can see where they took that and we're like, okay, we can make this better. It just, the implementation here was just catastrophic.
Yes, it really was. I think they bit off more than they could chew. They hit gold, the first Final Fantasy, and I think they wanted to hit gold again. They didn't. They probably hit a good copper. They hit copper, maybe a little lower, maybe tungsten. Who knows? I don't know the value of metals, to be honest. I just know gold's expensive. Platinum's higher, I guess. I don't know. Either way.
Yeah, but in the Minecraft sphere, diamonds are lower.
I have played Minecraft for maybe a total of 2 hours of my life.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so no, the series, I guess the best way to look at it, James, is it goes up from here, in my opinion.
I'll say I will be the judge of that because
exactly
that is clearly what we're literally working on here.
Yeah.
So since I just finished Final Fantasy II last night, fresh in my brain, it is on my agenda to start 3 as soon as possible to dive in, hopefully get to experience the game a little bit more and not feel hopefully we're not like on that rail system towards the end of the game that happened in this one where it's like, all right, you hit here, you're locked in all the way to the end, no breaks.
Sure, I'll let you believe that. Spoiler. No, I'm looking forward to seeing how you like it, because there's a reason why 3 got the 3DS remake it got on the years ago before I got anything where before it came over in the States other ways. Because it is a good game. It really is the cornerstone in which a lot of future Final Fantasy was based off of in terms of the mechanics of jobs or classes. Without Final Fantasy 3, you wouldn't have 5, you wouldn't have tactics, you wouldn't have a lot of things. But that's for the next episode. One thing I want to talk about tonight, since we've got some time, is so we're on August 12th. Final Fantasy 3 will be August 26th. Final Fantasy 4 will be September 9th. Final Fantasy 5 will be September 23rd. Final Fantasy 6 will be October 7th. That puts us to we will finish the first generation, as we're calling it, of Final Fantasy games, so that come October 21st, right before the episode we filmed before Halloween, we can focus on a horror game.
Oh, okay.
So I want to then take a break, like we've agreed to, after the first 6 Final Fantasies, and have almost like a palate cleanser, if you will,
Makes sense.
and go a spooky route. I was actually
Yeah, well,
talking with my son about this in the car on the way up to Fenway on Sunday, because he was asking me about what we're playing after Final Fantasy, because there's a lot of Final Fantasy games, and so he gave me some ideas. We tossed a few back and forth, but yeah, no, I would love to. I would love to play a horror game, maybe even a horror game I've never played before. Um,
I have an idea of one that I haven't played. I have seen gameplay of, not fully. Uh, if you want, I can talk about it now briefly, or we can wait a little bit later.
we got the time. Let's talk about it now, so we can try to
All
plan
right.
ahead.
All right. So Until Dawn, it's kind of like a very story-based game, and it looks interesting, and it does have the horror elements, and it's kind of like use your own adventure-ish, where
Yep.
like your decisions impact everything, and I love that about games. Like some of my side tangent here, one of the random stories I had as a kid was like these Star Wars trilogy books where you're like an additional character helping Luke on your adventure, but you could do different things on the story. So it was like choose your own pathway through things. So as you're reading, you're constantly going down a different way to progress your own story alongside the hero. So it's always been one of my favorite things about games when they do it,
Mm-hmm.
if it can be done right. And I think that could be a good candidate for a horror game that we can do. Not really sure if it really kind of fits the RPG aspect of it, but
Every game can, though, because you're playing as a character.
and second, we're playing with a lot of characters.
Yes, you're playing as Rami Malek and Hayden Panettiere.
Save the cheerleader, save the world.
Okay. I don't think I watched past the first season of Heroes.
It falls off.
Oh, okay. It's actually very timely that you mention it. I know we don't go too much into video game news on this show, but Supermassive Games, the creator of Until Dawn, actually did just announce they're going through a redundancy analysis of the studio.
Oof.
And looking to possibly trim down their staff. So this may actually be a good way to also show support to the developer. It sucks. The video game industry as a whole is one that's just filled with cuts and layoffs and mergers, acquisitions. It's shitty.
Kind of become like an industry standard at this point. You're signed on to complete a game. The game is done maybe a couple months after to make sure there's no bugs, anything crazy goes on, then you're cut because the game's out. You need a minimal staff to maintain it at that point. You don't need a full creative team to keep a game running. You just need a small team to maintain it, balance it as things keep going. And we see it everywhere. Blizzard had the same issues a while back, cutting a lot of their team for costs, probably a little bit more on the profit end than actually on development end, but that's a different story. But a lot of developers do it, and it does suck when it happens, but I can understand why it happens as much as it does, even though I believe it shouldn't. So hopefully, I also didn't know that developer was going through that scenario. So it was just one of those things where I was like, horror. And then we talked about, the Fallout aspect of dialogue. And I was like, hey, those two things kind of clicked in my brain. And I just remember that one random horror game.
Yeah. So no, it's definitely something we can look into. Obviously, if anyone listening, watching the show has any suggestions, let us know. James is a little more versed in the horror game space than I am. I am a huge horror movie fan. Just haven't played a lot of horror games in my days. I've played the big ones like Resident Evil and whatnot, but um,
I've gone down the rabbit hole of the, I would say, more indie side of horror games. Some not so good, some jet like diamonds in the rough. Like, oh my god, this game is incredible. Like somebody that made this. I mean, graphics don't look great, but I mean, graphics aren't always going to define like good gameplay. Like it's so. I definitely have a lot of good fun experience in that, but I'm looking forward to it. If anybody has any suggestions of what we should play, or if you want to push us towards playing Until Dawn, definitely, I would say go to the Discord, go to Blue Sky, let us know your feelings. YouTube, when this video is out on YouTube, put it in the comments if you want a different to see a different game, or even if you want to see us do a different franchise after we finish 6 and do our little palette cleanser, before moving on. Just, or even any questions as well, just throw them in there. We'll like to bring up the questions at the end of each episode, and just go over them. So we appreciate any feedback and any questions anybody wants to give us.
Yeah. Speaking of questions, James, have you played Crow Country yet?
I can't tell if that's an actual game or not.
It's a PS1 inspired horror game, like the old Tank Control Resident Evil that came out a couple years ago. Which the graphics look like shit because it's made to look like a PS1 game on purpose. So I wasn't sure if you're referencing that game. I heard great things about it. Like I heard it's amazing. It's called Crow Country.
There's a few like Japanese like horror games where it's like you're like running a convenience store or something, and monsters are coming to try and get you, so you're trying to like keep away from them and stuff. So like there's those kind of games I've seen a lot of and played a lot of. And so I will say, because since you brought up the Resident Evil thing, there is one I did see, and I have seen a streamer I watched play it. It's called Wicked Seed, and it looks like somebody just took Silent Hill and Resident Evil and just like, now kiss, essentially. And it definitely feeds the Gooners of the Resident Evil and Silent Hill franchise with some of the optional outfits that you can find and make the character wear.
When we're gonna have our Hear Me Out episode?
We could definitely do that as a special episode, or if we somehow come across a game in this franchise that doesn't have too much to talk about, we could just slap it at the end of one of those episodes.
So Hear Me Out, Pyramid Head without the mask.
No.
You're such a prude. And no, I've got so many ideas running through my head right now for stupid shit we could do between stream and YouTube videos and just random shit.
Yeah, let's. The whole, like, I know one of the things I definitely would like to do is, even if we don't do it during this segment of the Final Fantasy block, if we do it towards, maybe after Gen 2, or even with, adding like 13 and all that stuff in there, a villain ranking.
Yep.
Overall the series. And because I don't know, some villains in this series are pretty good, some are pretty stinker.
Yes, no, I completely agree. I would love to do like do some top 10 lists down the road, or tier lists, or whatever the young kids are doing nowadays on the YouTube. Um, how you doing, fellow kids? All I can think of is the Steve Buscemi meme from 30 Rock. How you doing, fellow
Yeah.
kids?
Hat backwards, skateboard in hand.
Steve Buscemi, you're a national treasure. Um, but yeah, so one thing I do want to mention, James, I meant to mention this the other day to you. So might as well get it on. Do it while we're talking right now. Is you familiar with Extra Life?
Yes.
Extra Life is November 7th. Are you going to be around November 7th?
I can't think of anything that's coming up around then, so more than likely.
I said we plan to do a marathon stream, annoy people to get to donate money.
Hey, I'm always down to help a cause.
Yep. So that's something we can talk about more off camera, obviously. But I just had that thought
Yeah.
because it is coming up. It's 3 months away now. Just damn, this year is going fast. But yeah, no. So I think we're gonna call it for an episode tonight. A little shorter than last time, but again, Final Fantasy II is not that good of a game. I'm sorry, but again, somewhere, someone has to have this as their favorite.
Yeah, I would say this is definitely the stinker of the franchise so far.
Yeah, but so again, to kind of give you insights to what else we've got going on. Obviously, we're going to start Final Fantasy III for the next show on the 26th of August. Feel free to play along with us, watch some Let's Plays. I am going to get back to my Skyrim playthrough of Khajiit Wants His Coin, because that was fun, playing in a different style. Do need to get back to Baldur's Gate 3. I have been a little preoccupied, unfortunately, with other games being Final Fantasy XIV on the Switch too, because it runs so nicely on the Switch too. I plan on actually getting a small video review up on the YouTube channel, kind of discussing it, showing kind of some side by side of the PS5 versus Switch 2 versions. So if we get that out there pretty soon. But I mentioned this to James previously. I can't believe I'm playing an MMO on a Nintendo handheld, and it's
I know, and
working well.
I think it's a huge thing of the technology that's come out now. Like a lot of the handhelds are capable of just doing that, and it's pretty crazy. I know. Bring it up again. Everybody's favorite MMO distributor, Blizzard. Immortal, I think, he has a mobile version of it, if I'm not mistaken. So that's pretty insane to me that you can do that on just like your phone. But that's also just, like I said, it's just the technology of what we currently have can handle it. I mean, your battery's probably going to die in like 2 minutes, but it's
Yeah, no, right?
at least it can run it.
I said turn the settings down to brick level, and maybe like you're playing a freaking potato. Speaking of Blizzard, again, we're not much of a news show, but Xbox has pretty much announced that Blizzard right now is their golden child.
It makes a lot of sense. And especially now with some of the announcements that came out with Blizzard in regards to Wizards of the Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They are teaming up for a Dungeons and Dragons set. Probably at least some books and stuff like that. So a large speculation as well as Wizards of the Coast, outside of doing Dungeons and Dragons, is also the distributor of Magic the Gathering. And a lot of people are thinking, well, if they're going to go with doing Dungeons and Dragons, why not go all the way into doing Magic the Gathering? And, I know Hearthstone is their dead horse they're beating to try and get as much money out of it. I think they should just say screw it, let Magic do it, and reap whatever royalty they want off of it. And my camera fell. Well, let me fix that in a minute.
That was awesome. Oh, thank God James is wearing pants. Because that would be awkward. I'd have to edit out James's pantless portion of the video if he wasn't. Whoa, man. Oh, and it goes down again. Oh, this is funny. Oh. Oh, this is perfect. This is the kind of stuff you only get on live broadcast, people. This is the kind of stuff live TV was made for. Cameras falling.
There you go. Gave you guys a little bit of feet for free, you know.
Oh my God, in this economy. It's okay, man. I'm just happy you had pants on because that would be fun to edit out.
Just a giant. You know what? You should just put a giant blur anyway.
Yeah. But no, back
only in a live show. I was half expecting my computer to just freak out and be like, you know what? Not today, and then just shut down mid session. But I'm glad it hasn't yet.
Speaking of the Wizards of the Coast, they also announced Star Wars for D&D.
Yes, and right now Wizards is planning a Star Trek themed set for Magic the Gathering.
Oh my God, they're just doing them all.
I have my opinions.
They're just collecting the Infinity Stones of franchises at this point.
Now that you say that, there's been multiple Marvel sets. Yeah. We did a Spider-Man one, and we just did a actual Marvel set as well.
So yeah, so Final Fantasy 3. We'll get that started. I'm also may have also re-downloaded World of Warcraft tonight.
Don't do it. See, I'm actively not playing this season, so you should not as well.
I'm just mostly doing it to see what's happening. Talk to some friends. I'm not tanking anymore in the guild, so it's not like I'm important anyway. So,
yeah. For me, as I told the one of the main officers, and that I deal with a lot. I know them from previous guilds, also some outside of WoW gaming, and other stuff. I told them in the raid leader, I was like, essentially, I won't be coming back this season, mainly because it's not rewarding anymore. Like, no. The Mythic grind, like, what do I get? I get an achievement, big whoop. Like, it doesn't give me anything that I value or want to chase. And that's not just with the rating. It's the everything. Like, I used to have fun logging in, doing dungeons with friends, but now it's not rewarding. It's not enjoyable.
Yeah, I figured I haven't played for like 3 or 4 months, so just hop in, maybe even just for a month, get a few raids done, and just call it. But I'm not gonna. I have no desire to go back to as hard as I was. I'm actually having too much fun with Final Fantasy 14.
I'd say at least push through the heroic raids and stuff.
Yeah.
I know that was a massive side tangent we went on here with WoW, but yeah.
Yep. So now I say let's just play Final Fantasy 3. Enjoy that game. Because after Final Fantasy 3 comes what I consider the start of the really good stories for Final Fantasies.
The Magic set for Final Fantasy has a job role in the cards where they'll create tokens that are just a generic thing, and they become a job role.
Oh.
So I'm terrified to see how this is all going to pan out and how this is all going to come about in the game and how badly I'll screw it up.
It's hard to screw up the job system.
You know what? You said this to somebody who has Murphy blood in their veins. I will manage to screw it up.
Nice. Okay.
At least it'll be something to talk about.
Yeah. So I say we call it there for the night. Get this episode up on YouTube most likely tomorrow. I'll get it on Spotify on Friday. I finally figured out how to get things on Apple Podcasts, so she'll go on Apple Podcasts, but at the same time it goes on Spotify. You can find the show on those places to watch and listen to. We are on Blue Sky. We have a Discord. I did make a Twitter or an X if you want to be hip and cool, just to get the word out. I'm really just going to post on X just to say, hey, we're live.
I would say hip and cool is not something I would call.
No, I know.
Call X, but we won't dive into that pool right now either.
But yeah, no, definitely hit us up on the Discord or the socials. You can find me at AwesomeDave1337 pretty much anywhere. Again, comment on the videos. Let us know what you think. Any questions, concerns, comments. Tell us why we're wrong about Final Fantasy II and why it's the best in the franchise.
Yeah. I will be hard pressed to believe you, but at least I will take your opinion in and cherish it for what it is.
And we were talking with my son the other day, my oldest, and he's like, no one says like, comment, or subscribe anymore on YouTube videos. So yeah, boy, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah. Oh boy, I've just died a little on the inside, I think. Oh.
It hurt. It aches a little bit.
Oh God. Oh, I haven't felt this bad since I had my gallbladder out. Wow.
Oh. Listen, it can be worse, right?
It could be. We could be buying a subscription to X for our premium account. You'll never see me do that. I will not pay for premium accounts for social media. If I get a blue check mark on anything, it's because I earned it. Or they were generous and gave it to me. But yeah, so James, where can people find you if they want to harass you about your takes?
So currently, you'll find me in the Discord. I will be more active going forward than now. When we get to the next episode, I'll look to set up, my own Blue Sky to take in, comments and stuff. Talk about parts of the gaming industry that I like, as well as some of the RPG stuff. Maybe throw out some updates on my gameplays here and there. Maybe throw out some screenshots of my progress through the game. So I'll keep everybody updated as I'm working on getting that done, and maybe I'll look to revive my Twitter as well. We'll see.
I look forward to it.
I do not.
So thanks for everyone for watching and listening to the Feet episode of the Role Playing Podcast, guys. For you audio listeners, I'm sorry you missed out on James purposely dropping his camera below his desk. Because there's no way that happened twice by accident, in my opinion.
As clumsy as I am, it is a possibility.
Yep. So I'll leave it at that. Have a wonderful night. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe, have fun, play RPGs, and just remember, Final Fantasy VIII is amazing. Bye.